Welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Heller, your host and guide for Harmonic Evolution, the podcast. And I am absolutely thrilled today to have Mark Haughton with me, Mr. Quantum Consciousness himself. Wow, it's like quite an honor because Mark is an author. He is a benevolent man who seeks to educate and inspire those who are in desire of attaining abundance, freedom, wealth, and a true connection to the universe. Mark is an awakened lightworker, a channeled just this amazing channeler that taps into the higher self. Mark has used his gifts to win numerous account lottery jackpots. His teachings, he teaches his students how to tap into their infinite selves and achieve success and abundance in all facets of life. Most importantly, at least for me, Mark is a dear friend, so I will pry a bit of secrets out that he's never disclosed before. So tune in, tune on, and get ready to have your mind blown with Mark Haughton. Mark, welcome to the show.
Whoa, that's an awesome intro, bro.
Well, dude, man, it's not even like that awesome for you. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah. What? How many years we known each other? What, two going on more?
No, I think it's like 3 now, but it seems like, well, you and I collapse time when we're together, so it may seem like 2.
Right, exactly. But it's good. It's awesome. You got this up and running, man. Let's roll with it, though. Let's help enlighten and get some information out so everyone can see what's going on.
All right, man. So you ready to spill the beans?
Let's go.
All right. So, like any superhero, what is your origin story? Where did you start? How did all this come into being about the lottery and just your tie into consciousness in the quantum realm?
Right. It started as a kid, growing up. I was born in Jamaica.
Born in Jamaica. How many of your fans and listeners actually know you were born in Jamaica?
I mean, I think a couple. I don't know if majority knows, but everybody probably suspected it. You'd probably hear a little accent. And,
well, and I think what's important to really kind of dig into this is, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I am, is you are a true rags to riches story. I mean, you really came from very, very humble beginnings raised by your grandmother. Anyway, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but these are just fascinating facts that you were enlightened as a child, as a kid, and then here you are today teaching tens of thousands of people all over the world these very sacred methodologies.
Yes. It's impressive. The funny thing about it is this, that I realize is if I knew this was all set up for me to do, if I had if you could just see what's called your perceived future or see you're going to be doing this, part of me would have backed out, man. I'd have been like, nah, I can't do it. So that taught me an important lesson. It showed me, and I know we talk about this inner being or our higher self. It really showed me that there's a purpose for everything not being revealed to us, what we're capable of, what our destiny, what we're supposed to do. Because if everything was shown to us, the ego part of our minds would debunk it, or we would talk ourselves out of it. So
well, and I think that's a really key point because the universe conspires to help people that are in communion with the universe, with that higher spirit.
Yes, that's correct, bro. It's actually the island of Jamaica. It was a beautiful island. Every day you get up, I'm spoiled. You see the ocean, and the thing is, we're a little bit below sea level, so when I would get up, it would look like the ocean was on top of us coming in and out. That was real trippy as a kid, but you get used to it. But now being here in the States, really kind of miss those sceneries. But it's great.
That's great. Now, how long have you been here in the United States?
I've been here for over 18 years.
Okay, 18 years. That's fantastic. And so you've been actively teaching how long, Mark?
All right, so actively teaching, this is going into my 4th year. Yes, 4th year. Let me tell you a story of how this all came about.
That'd be great. That's what I want, that origin story. I mean, like all superheroes.
Yeah, basically as a child, I always had these, what I know they were gifts, but to me as a kid, I always thought it was kind of weird, For example, I would have dreams, and these dreams would come true. I could see energy when I walk around people, I could actually see their auric fields. I could tell when someone's upset. Sometimes I could even tell when someone's what they're about to say. And it was real, real trippy. I didn't quite understand what was going on, and I was always interested in just science, nature, how the universe work, what places, the earth, all these things are just fascinating to me. And interesting thing too is when it comes to books or reading anything, I have this ability that I could just take a book and I could skim through the book and I would know pretty much understand everything in the book, but I'd have to read it. I just skim and all the information gets in there, and that was good. But what really happened was 4 or 5 years ago, I would say I got my true awakening, and I was awakened literally about 3 in the morning with this massive, I wouldn't call it a headache, but it was kind of a tension feel, like someone was there. And what I know now, that was all this information being downloaded to me. At that time, I was working in the food industry. I was a executive sous chef.
What's that? You kind of muffled out a little bit. So you're working in the food industry. You're an executive chef.
Executive sous chef, yes, yes. And what happened was we usually have our morning meetings when it comes to ranging food costs and everything. And we used a program that would calculate the monthly food costs, and the losses we have. And I did everything in my head. I couldn't explain how I did it. I did it in my head and I put it down, and the other supervisors were looking at me like, whoa, what's going on? I was looking at myself like, whoa, what's going on? But that's when things started to turn. And the lottery thing now came in because of this car I wanted, my dream car, beautiful car, Dakar yellow E46 M3. Love that car. And anyway, I wanted to get the car, so I decided to use the lottery. And then things started from there.
So that's great. So you decided to get the car. So do you think the car was kind of like spirit or your guides nudging you and saying, okay, this is real?
Yes, exactly. The car was exactly that. What I understand and I learn now is that, the things that we see, and we talk about this, that looks physical, real, it's not. I know the mind can't make sense of it. I know, the intellect, our intelligent mind really can't grasp that because, as you know, we just have a limited 5 senses. That's what we see and perceive, right?
Right.
But just so much beyond that. And what I used to do, I used to see this car all over the place, the yellow car, 5, 6 cars. At that time, I kind of knew what was going on. I said, okay, this is the synchronicity that was lined up. And so I asked myself, I said, okay, what do you want? I mean, because I've been studying how the universe works. I've been studying physics. Along with what I have, the gifts I have. And I was just told to me, it just says, hey, Mark, just decide what you want. I said, okay, I want this car. And this voice, it was like inner voice. And he says, okay, what do you want? Do you want to pay payments or do you want to pay for the car cash? I said, I want to buy this car cash. And then bing, the lottery just popped in my head. I said, okay, I'm just going to win the lottery. And, the lottery, people have this stigma or this thing like the lottery is just hard. It's a game of odds or chance or probabilities. And it's like a once, to me, it was just a way for me to get what I desired. And I just started to kind of meditate and I kind of visualize the way my way. And it started to happen. And then once I let it go and I detached, I want all the money to buy it, and I bought it cash just like I had, and I have it.
Well, and that's great because I think what a lot of people don't realize is, success in any business is challenging. But not only that, like I think 1% of internet marketers are successful. So really, with regards to the lottery, it is a mindset. It is something that I think your guides, based on our conversations, really wanted to instill in you so you could take that out and start teaching this mindset. So you're enabling these people who, let's say, may be struggling and there's no way out of their struggle, to give them an opportunity to rise up, and whether that's winning 1,000 or 5,000 or 50,000 or whatever that is, because they're really kind of enwrapped in this mindset that you have, your energy field, if you will, if they're following you, with your guides. And so they're getting like this quantum boost, kind of like this rocket ship just taking off and boom. And it's like, so by being in that, in this tribe of yours, they're getting this extra influx of energy. At least that's how I see it.
Yes, that's actually the point. I mean, the lottery was just a part of my purpose to teach. It was the lottery as an intro part, and people get fascinated by it, And I mean, I've taught a lot of people that won millions and hundreds of thousands, all. And the thing that it fascinates me is just I didn't know people would gravitate towards it so much. It's like, whoa! But it symbolizes that financial freedom for them. And that's great. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you. I can do it. But for me, it was a little bit more than the lottery. It was just that the information in the lottery was an example of what is possible in the universe that we were taught that has limitation and is governed by finite the quantifications of our thinking and our mindset, and it doesn't work that way.
Right. Right. And to that point, because you're talking about limitation, I mean, somebody may win the lottery one time. You've won the lottery, scratch offs, cash prizes, all this sort of things over 40 times. So it's not like this is like, boom, oh, yeah, I won the lottery, now I'm going to go teach it. No, I've done it 40 plus times. That's amazing.
Yeah, I continue to do it. So what I do is, there's different parts of the lottery. You have the Powerball, the Mega Million. You can get those games, but I focus on just creating a fun abundance with the other games, like calling those games into play. Like you have to play 4, 5. Basically, what I do is I see the numbers, and whatever number I desire or I feel the universe will show me, I collapse that number, and then it comes out and I win it. And so far this year, let's see, I think I had my best month, what you say, it was in July. I was $60,000 in wins for one guy.
That's a good month.
Yeah, that's a good month.
Now, let's take a step back for a second, because you said you see the numbers. So for my audience, and obviously your people are going to be watching this as well, what do you mean by see the numbers? That's kind of analogous.
Right. So here's okay. So I look at everything as a mathematical formula. You and I, our whole composite is mathematics. When you have facial recognition, your phone, it's doing a diagram of these concepts of mathematics, and that's how we portray ourselves. So the universe works in that way. So everything, it kind of exists in coordinates. So with the lottery, what happens is, so I would say, okay, universe, what number would be the number that I would like to come out from the lottery? And I'll just wait, and a couple of days, the universe will show me some numbers. And once I see these numbers, I grab onto them, and I use highly energetic numbers. Highly energetic numbers are what we call angel numbers, double amplification numbers, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So if I see these numbers and I like them, and I say, okay, I like that number. For example, one of the numbers that I won big was 4747, 4477. So I'm gonna tell you the story on this. So I seen the number, and I said, okay, this is the number I'm going to collapse. Collapse basically means I am bringing it in from the etheric, as you would say, the spiritual, and I'm collapsing it into a physical, into the lottery, so the number comes out. So what I do is I see the number and I meditate on it, and I play. Now, this is not a quick thing. This number doesn't say it comes out in 2 days. It takes, for me, it could be between 2 weeks to 90 days. That's how the formula works for me. For others I've taught, they've got instant results in maybe a week or 2 or a month. But okay, so I see the number. Now I ask the universe what way this number will come out. And this is for people who play the lottery. They know what I mean by that. Is it gonna come straight? Is it gonna come box? What way would it come? And so I asked that, and it was one day I was watching something on the news, and there was this guy standing in his building, and he was talking, and the building number was 4747, big number. So I said, aha, that's the number. That's how it's gonna come out. So I played it straight that way, and that got me over $107,000.
Right. So it sounds like, Mark, that the universe really is putting these numbers and I'll say tumblers, if you will,
Right.
into place once you ask. And then they know they're actually creating. So it's not like you're being a fortune teller and go, oh, the lottery number is going to be da 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 da. No, your guides are actually going into, let's say, the random number generator, the thing that creates these numbers, and going, okay, Mark wants these numbers, boom, 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 boom. And now, okay, we've got these aligned inside the machinery of the lottery. Let's go back and tell Mark what we did.
That's a good point, Joe. You know, this is something that I've discovered that, and this is how it works. You know, I believe that each of us, we have our own bubble universe existing within a subframe of the universe. In other
Our
words,
own what? You kind of faded out. So
kind of our own bubble universe.
bubble universe. Okay, got it.
But we exist in this essential uniform universe. In other words, you and I, we could be in the same place at the same time, but we have different experiences. My reality could be a little different than yours. So here's what happens. So within my reality, the universe conforms to that. So let's say it's the lottery. So now I become a part of the lottery. My reality is now lottery. So there's always going to be things about lottery to help me. They'll give me numbers, maybe a dream of going to buy a scratch off. So I've entangled myself within that reality. That's how I see it works. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me, and actually, I would even expand on that because in your last video, you talked about multiple realities or multiple universes we live in, not just a single universe.
Yeah.
So there actually could be a Mark that is running the lottery, and it comes out a couple weeks before they give you the numbers in this other universe, and this Mark that you're entangled with goes, "Hey, psst, Mark, these are the numbers."
That is, and you just said something to a lot of individuals. This may sound trippy. This may say, "Oh, what?" But there is a hard mathematics, and the physics shows this. It shows this on the macro level, on the micro level to the macro level, the small to the large scale. And I mean, I'm experiencing it, and I'm teaching it, so something to it, right?
Yeah, no, and I teach it and talk about it as well. It's kind of like what's interesting is people think that in the Matrix, when they hook people up in the back of the head and they're able to download this information, like, well, I can fly a helicopter, or I know jujitsu, or whatever, that's all possible in real time if you're able to tune in and entangle yourself with this other self and this other reality.
Exactly. You said it perfect. The other self and the other reality. And you know this too. I mean, the way things work is it comes in from an invisible source. Invisible means that we can't see it with our naked eyes, but it's still there. And the secret is really, as you say, attune yourself with that. Become that which you want as a vibrational match or an attunement, entanglement. When you do that, it has no choice but to show up in your extensional reality.
That's right. And just like a radio, if you tune it to a certain dial, like 99.1, guess what? You're not going to get 103.2. You're going to get 99.1 on the dial. That's what you're set to receive at. And you're set to receive, from a quantum perspective, this entanglement that's being broadcast on the lottery to you.
Exactly. Now, something here now is what, this information is there, but the thing that I discovered that really stops us from getting this, right?
We do what? I'm sorry?
The thing that stops us from really, attuning to this or to really get it to make it work is our own intellect mind, the conscious mind, that rational thinking mind. It always steps you up because it uses rationality and logic. And the universe doesn't talk to us in rationality and logic. It speaks to us in a different language or a different frequency.
Right. Well, and you and I have had these conversations, and there's probably going to be one of these in the future where you and I just rap and blow people's minds. But I really want to kind of keep this on topic. Yeah. But the Carnegies and others who built these vast universities all over the world at the turn of the century, they basically set up education to create this limited belief structure within us because we are limitless beings. To your point.
Exactly. And why don't you talk about the Vatican with all those hundreds of information scribes that they haven't released? right?
Absolutely. Well, the Vatican vaults and the chambers beneath the Vatican have limitless scriptures and other things that Jesus and other very just evolved beings that walk the planet, and they've kept those from us. And I'm sorry if I'm hurting anyone's feelings out there, but there is a lot kept from us, which hopefully in this interview I'm dispelling some of those because Mark is evident of the limitless nature of our being, which let's just kind of jump into the next topic here, which is the law of attraction. Now, law of attraction, I just did a video a couple weeks ago about how it creates negative karma. And that's true for most people that are following the law of attraction and the teachers teaching it. But you've got a different way of looking at the law of attraction, and I call it the law of attraction 2.0 because you lead heart first. You're not really all that wrapped up with greed or this or that because you're trying to help raise people up and give them the tools to break through this threshold that people have put them on to hold them down. So would you talk about your philosophy in law of attraction and how your mentor, the people you coach and you teach, how all this plays out for their spiritual growth and evolution?
Right. So the way I do it is I use quantum physics, subconscious mind, and of course your conscious mind. And then to me, the law of attraction is kind of a tool. It's basically a scientific law. It's like gravity. So with that aspect, it's more coming through the heart. So if you go through the heart, then you're easily connected to your subconscious. Subconscious takes you to what I call your authentic self, higher self, true self. So what I do is I teach individuals basically, they say, look, this is your mind. This is the areas of your mind. Your mind have different compartments. You have a conscious mind. And you have a middle ground, which is known as the gatekeeper. Then you have the subconscious mind. These parts of your mind work differently. And you have to know and master each of them in order to become what you call attuned with what you want. That's how I put it to the law, or to use the law of attraction. And once you start to do this, that's when you will see the results. That's when your life will change. Because as you know, all of our actions and habits are controlled and run by our subconscious. I mean, 90% of what we do is subconscious. And if you aren't connected and plugged in, and that takes you to where source is, as we say, source. So that's kind of my model of how I put it together. And the physics part of it, I love the physics part of it because it dispels a lot of philosophy or a lot of what you call metaphysics, right? Like it's actual true physics, and it ties up perfectly because from the micro, which is the small particles, to the macro, which is the real world, the same thing occurs here. So it's fun to just tie that in, and it helps people to build a belief because when they see, they say, wait a minute, that's okay. The science says that the physics matches up, and they see the results, and it just builds their belief more. That's my approach to it.
No, and you're absolutely right. And part of that is again, going back to the people that have tried to create these limited beliefs within us have separated church and state and science when really it's all transfigured into one thing. And they pit each other, the religion against science. And it's really not, because these are very, and I'll use the term esoteric teachings that come from spirit to us, that if we're open enough to receive these gifts, we can create this abundance, what I call WASP principles, which stands for wealth, abundance, success, and prosperity in our lives. And going back to where, growing up in Jamaica, I mean, you've told me stories. I mean, you were raised by your grandma, and you created a life, and you had a focus and goal. And I think spirit rewards people that are incentivized to try and help others, which sounds like that's really been your whole mission in your life. So why not be rewarded? So I guess one of my big initial takeaways is, be of service to all, not service to self. And when you do that, you win the lottery. You do all these amazing things, or all these amazing things come to your life, from wealth to relationships to whatever it might be.
I totally agree. I mean, ever since I always knew that I wanted to be a service to others. And it would show because people would naturally gravitate towards me and ask me, hey, how can I do this? How can I do that? And I always had this ability to help people. I could meditate for someone and they would get the results. I would, when I would talk to people after I talked to them, they would just feel good. I said, wait a minute, this is not normal, right? So I said, this means that's something I have to do. That was my gift. The lottery was just a channel to help people. And it goes beyond that. It's just, as you said, by being of service to others, your service to yourself as well. But it comes first by being of service to others, because, I believe that we all come here for a purpose. From where we're born to who our mom is, I believe we chose that. And the environment where we're growing up, it was all preparing us for what our true purpose is. And for me, that was my field. So it was preparing me for what I was to do, and this is what I'm doing. And I want to say something. The information that I put out and I teach, yeah, I'm speaking it. It's coming, but it's coming from a higher source. It's coming through that infinite intelligence source, because some of the information that I put out and I teach, some of it I don't get it until it comes into my head.
Right, that's a great point. And so many of us, because the conscious mind interferes because of, again, how we've been taught to limit that belief structure, we're letting the logical side of our nature take precedent over the creative God self side of our nature. So how have you learned to quiet down the conscious side of the mind and allow the creative God self to come through and share these numbers with you that allow you to win the lottery?
That's a great question, and you just hit something, the conscious mind. So if anyone's listening to this podcast, let me share something with you.
You mean all the millions that are listening to this podcast?
Millions, right? Here's something you must understand. I speak about subconscious a lot. The subconscious has a lot to do with it, but let me show you something. Your own worst enemy is your own conscious mind. Why? Because it has the ability to think and reason. When it can reason, it has the ability to think it knows all. So how can you get the conscious mind quiet? You have to know how it works. So what I know how the conscious mind works. I know that it's limited. It can only as farthest responses to my past. So with that information, I know now that when my mind comes in, it's basically a feedback loop. I don't take it personal. I don't take it serious. And then I self-correct the mind by speaking out aloud. I don't speak in my head. I speak out in my outer voice.
And that's key, Mark. I mean, most people don't realize that. They just kind of like mumble something or kind of a thought in their head, but you need to announce it, proclaim it to the universe.
Now look, that's it. And individuals say to me, what's the difference, man? I mean, the voice is in my head. I got to speak in my head. Why I got to speak it out loud? Well, here's the big difference. The voice in your head is hijacking. So when you speak in your head, it's the same voice. It's not going to take you serious. But when you, as you say, you proclaim it. When you speak out loud, that voice takes you more seriously. It starts to say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? You speaking to me? And I speak it again. You kind of shock it. That's what you want. You want to shock it, because if you shock it, you can't create these negative, what I call loops. If you go in and you self-correct it. You have to do this. This is the only way you're going to get your mind. You got to say things like, hey, relax. It's okay. We're not playing that game today. Relax. The mind will do it, and then you what I call self-correct it. Because as you know, and we talked about this a lot, it is that ego mind. And I want to touch on ego because you know this. You can actually make your ego your friend.
Exactly.
So the ego is not evil. I want anyone watching, I don't want you to get the idea that, hey, is the ego bad? No. The ego is like a child. You let a child hang out with the wrong crowd, he's going to pick up some habits. And that's basically what your ego did. He's picked up some bad habits through our conditioning program in our environment.
No, and I agree. And a lot of people, as a matter of fact, I personally believe that our mission here before we're able to graduate from our school, or one of the key things or learnings we have to do, is learn how to befriend our ego, because our ego is very powerful. It lives inside the reptilian brain, and of course there's acronyms for edging God out and this and that. But But really, we need to befriend it. And people talk about you got to kill the ego. Well, no, you don't want to kill anything. That's just going against the law of God, the law of nature. You want to befriend it, become one with it. And I know that when I did that, my meditations went to a completely different level. Now, let me circle back because you talked about feedback loops. Now,
Yeah.
you and I have talked about reality loops. And reality loops are a little bit different because it's a effect causation, so it keeps you in that same loop. And then part of what you said around announcing out loud, I just want to expand on that just a smidge because my guides told me that with all the millions and billions of thoughts people have in their heads every single day, every person on this earth, the angels or your guides don't know you're serious unless you speak it out loud. And the throat chakra is the manifestation of your soul's voice here on earth. So by speaking it out loud, your angels, your guides, whatever your belief structure goes, oh, dang, Joe needs this, or Mark needs this, or Alice needs this. So speaking it out loud breaks that reality loop. And you want to talk a little bit about a reality loop and how that causation with what your teachings do to
Right.
expand it and break people free of that karma cycle.
That's good. That's good. So what I want to show is a lot of individuals don't realize this. Every time we have negative thoughts, we literally hypnotize ourselves in a trance. Your mind puts you in a trance. Let me prove to you why. Think about this. Why is it so hard to break a negative thought? Remember now, notice when you have a negative thought, it goes to another thought. You go to another thought. You just keep cycling, right? That's because you're hypnotized subconsciously by the emotional part of the mind. Now that becomes what I call a reality loop. Now you're on this autopilot and you repeat the same thing and looking for a different result. That's because your mind actually puts you in a trance. And to break that loop is to become aware and, as you say, proclaim. Speak, just like when someone hypnotizes you. Wake up, you're out. That's what the mind does. And a lot of individuals are in this loop for years, 10, 15, 20 years, because no one taught them or showed them how the mind works. And the reason why we get into a trance state, the question may come, okay, Mark, so negative thinking puts me in a trance, but what about positive thinking? Would that put me in a trance? No, positive thinking don't put you in a trance. You know why? Because positive thinking or feeling good is our natural baseline frequency. That's where we're created. So that's already embedded in us. So that part, what I'm saying, it's already natural for you to get what you want. You don't need to be in a trance for that. But the trance comes in because we've been conditioned with fear, the doubt. Those are very, very heavy, dense energies. And what they do, they cripple the mind. That's why the mind gets in a trance, because it was something learned. And look, you know this, we think it's normal to worry, to have stress, to fear. All these things we feel, we were brought up and grown up to say, oh, this is normal. It's normal to struggle. No, it's not. It's not normal. Those are learned conditions that were put into us because it goes away from our natural vibration frequency.
Right,
That's
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, and when you're talking about that, and how outside of maybe just verbalizing it out loud, how does someone break free of this negative thought cycle that they've been put in? Because, like you said, they've been put in a trance, a spell, they've been trained for so long. So how do they kind of break through, at least, reach the surface, catch your breath, realizing they may be pulled back down, but they've got to be strong enough to go back up and then go higher and then higher. So there is some ebb and flows, but the beautiful thing about that is every time you go back down, you don't go down as far and you go up higher. So you're accelerating or accentuating this lift in consciousness.
Yes, yes. The first key is become aware. You have to know what's happening in order to change it. You can't, if you don't know what's happening, you won't change it. So that's the first thing. Become aware of the mind. That's number one. Number two, you have to enter what I call deep trance meditation. A deep trance meditation is basically quieting yourself and seeing in your mind's eye the type of person or the type of reality you like to feel. That's number two. Number three, you have to positively self-talk. You have to say something positive about yourself every day out loud. You know, if you think about it, when you live in your house, you keep your house clean, right? Your house is your safe house. Well, in your mind, that's your house. If you keep it dirty, which majority of us do, but what I mean dirty is the negative. Our minds are the worst critic. They talk to us so bad, and we aren't even aware of it because it becomes that trance. You think it's normal. So if you start to just talk to yourself and say, man, I'm really good at this. I'm a genius at this. I'm so happy. Why is my life so harmonious? You start to break it. That's where now you start to go up, up, and up.
Right, and I think you hit the nail on the head by asking why, because if you ask why, the universe has to give you what it is because it's got to fulfill your wish.
Exactly. It's the prover. It has to prove to you because, as you said before, the universe is always conspiring to help us. People got to understand this. Here's the bottom line. We live in a friendly universe. It wants to help you. It's not against you. The reason it's against you is because of your mind concept. It's a perception. But the universe innately is here to help. It wants you to get what you want. That's why it's always sending information. That's why you have your guides. That's why you have your higher self. That's why I have synchronicities. It's throwing it. It's saying, hey man, I'm trying to give it to you. But what interrupts it, the intellect, the ego, mind, that mind right there, it stops it. And that's where you have to gain control of that. And then you can start, as you say, excel or go beyond.
Well, and I would also add, because you're talking about trances, and I mentioned entrainment. Most people don't know that entertainment, the actual root word for entertainment, is entrainment. Hollywood is the actual wood they use in the original magic wand. So their job is to put you under a spell. And part of that is, again, working with the elites that have controlled the world for such a long time. And the spell is designed to keep you down. So I know you are a huge fan, as I am myself, in watching things that are positive and uplifting. So, and I just wanted to add that and get your thoughts as well of what you not only think, but what you put into your mind.
That's a great point, bro. Now you said the key word, spell and Hollywood. A lot of individuals don't know about that. The tree from Hollywood. Now look at television. Tell a vision. Tell live vision. Program. They're telling you blatantly every day. Watch this program. This new program. This television is designed to keep you in a state of fear. That's all it is. Now, here's an interesting stat, and I want you know this. Now, I'm sure you know this. This is for the audience. Did you know that the reason why the news put so much negative information out there, it's to make money. It's designed. Let me show you something about the human mind. When you are in fear, you're most likely to be observant to authority. When you are in fear, you're most likely to go spend. This is why when they put the fear and all these panic, all these commercials, you go out to buy something to make you feel better. That's how your mind works. So they want to keep you in this fear pool. Now, what I do is I don't watch the news. Stopped many years. I surround myself inside. I only look at information that resonates with me. I surround myself with like-minded individuals. That's what you have to do. You have to become the minority. The majority going the wrong way. You have to be the minority. And this is real. Now, Joe, you know this. We're living in great times. Because now, the age of Aquarius, right? This great awakening.
Yep.
And this is the turning point now where you see so many individuals now, they're already waking up because you see the things going on in the news, entertainment industry, all these things that are happening. Now, the lights are coming off. People's minds are like, whoa, my goodness, this is it. So I want you guys to understand that, guys, that as Joe said, it's designed to keep you in this trance of this state of constant fear. This constant fear, you're more likely to give up your power to freely think for yourself.
Right. You just brought up a great example, the age of Aquarius, because a lot of people, and even I did for a very long time, believe and understand that in modern astrology that the symbol for Aquarius is an air sign. But guess what? You look at the original astrological, or the civilization that brought in the astrology to this world is Sumerian.
Right.
The Aquarian is actually a water bearer, a true water sign, not an air sign. So going back millennia, thousands and thousands of years, this is how long the people that have controlled the planet have played this game to manipulate us. And I know people are going to be like, Joe, that's pretty far-fetched. But if you don't believe me, I invite you to Google the Sumerians and go down that rabbit hole and find the right documents. Now, I will say that Google and other search engines, so you've got to use some of these off-brand search engines and actually define the truth because they're filtering so much information. But that's a completely different rabbit hole. Let's jump back onto Law of Attraction 2.0 because I guess the point I was trying to make with what I just said is you've got to open yourself up to the truth. So what Mark and I have done is we were in a box at some point in our life. We went into a bigger box and then a bigger box. And then we finally realized, wow, there's no box.
Yeah. What's that line from the Matrix when the spoon, right? What did she tell Neo?
Right. There is no spoon.
Exactly. He's trying to bend that spoon. He's like, oh, no. Same thing with reality, guys. It's your perception. You create it. So whatever you put yourself in or what you surround yourself with, always remember this. Your brain is a filtering machine. It is constantly pruning and looking to filter whatever your dominant vibrational pattern is. So if you surround yourself, you're in this matrix here, what I like to call this false prism of reality, right? This keeps you down. And that's what your brain projects, and that's what you will experience, point blank.
Right, absolutely. And so going back to your point, because you're just talking about frequency, it emits from the heart. So how open are you to give and receive love at a level beyond that humans can't even comprehend? So by allowing this God type of love to flow through you, you are unstoppable. You're limitless.
Yes, brother. That's actually, and you know this. I mean, you brought up a great point. We talked about it before, that the heart actually contains our memory. It's not actually in the brain. It comes in the heart, right? We talked about that with the individuals that got transplants, heart transplants. They remember the donors' memories. They get dreams of these donors. And the heart, the electromagnetic field of the heart. The heart has a mini brain. It's called neurites. Your gut has a mini brain. It's called the historic system. All these things are known now, but you will never see these on the mainstream to show you this. The information is there. But, as I said, I tell people all the time, I said, hey, man, you're not responsible for, when you were a kid, the program you got because you were a kid. But you are responsible when you realize that I don't want this anymore. I want to change. Now you're responsible to go out there and dig it up and find out because it's out there.
Yeah, a great point, because we all need to have our personal responsibility. We have to make sure that we own this lifetime. And we can't do any of this. We can't break free if we let someone else control our reality. We are creators.
Exactly. We are, exactly. We cannot, there's one thing, people ask me all the time. They say, man, Mark, I'm not good at manifesting. How can I manifest? I'm not manifesting. I said, no, you cannot not manifest. The question you ask me is, what am I manifesting? You cannot stop creating. It's naturally in you. You have to figure out what to create. That's the point. Your mindset.
Right, and why are you creating? So stepping out of that reality loop, eradicating those false beliefs, those thoughts, and resetting yourself, going through a total reset. And I can tell you that when you go through a reset, it may be quite a bumpy road. I mean, it's not always easy because you're changing your frequencies. It's kind of like the static between radio stations. So when you go from 101.1 to 104.5, you got static in between. You may have some out of distant stations. I'm talking like back in the old days before digital satellite radio. But you would have like these stations, right? They wouldn't quite come in. So you're going to kind of hit some of that as you retune into a higher frequency, which is what Mark's training is all about.
Exactly, and you said it, for anyone out there, you guys gotta remember, you may be losing friends, you may be losing family. That's good, that's a part of the process.
Wives, husbands.
wives, husbands, because you got to remember, guys, a tuning or raising, you're starting to go up. So if you're starting to go up, as they say, dead weight falls, right? And you start to elevate. It's a good thing. You got to remember how this works. You came here. All the people in your life, you chose them for a particular reason. Remember, you came by yourself. You didn't come out with somebody else. Your happiness is inside. So don't try to force something that you know isn't working. Just let it happen, and something better will come along, because we live in a universe that conspires to help us.
Right, exactly. And I would even say, Mark, that as you're climbing this mountain of success, this wealth to create this better you, I mean, if somebody's trying to pull you back down the mountain, let them go, because they're just going to create harm, not only for you, but for everyone around you. Now, if they want to help push you, or you're reaching back and they're interested in coming up with you and you're reaching back to grab them, to pull them up the mountain with you, then do it. And that's what you're all about. You're about helping people reach that mountaintop, plant the flag on top of Everest, and go, woohoo, we are here. I probably blew out my speakers, also it sounded like
Yeah.
it.
I mean, you said a good point, and I remember a story I told you with someone I invested some finances with, and this person took off with the money, right? And now the old version would have been like, "What are you doing?" Da, da, da. But as you say, maybe they needed it better than I did. That was the universe way. So my point is, it is what it is. I don't dwell on these things and say, these people's doing it, because everybody is playing a role. I just have to know my part or your part, and just to elevate. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Uh, when things happen, and you think people do you wrong, or you perceive to do you wrong, that's fine. Let it go, because here's what happened. Your intention is going to bring it back around, because everything, as we talk about, it creates momentum, right? So when things come back at us, it comes back multiplied. So if you're doing good and you're helping and you're doing your best, and someone takes advantage of you, don't go out there and try to, I gotta, just as you said, maybe that person needed it more, let it go, and it comes. I see that all the time in my life. When things like that happen, whatever I lost or something, I get it back multiplied.
Exactly. And this person who took this money from you, you made the $60,000 in 1 month, well after they took that from you.
Right. So it just shows you that you are your own creator. Nobody outside of you controls what you can do. They may tell you that. That's a lie. That's a facade. It's an illusion. You have the power within you. You create. It's just a perception you think. Once they get that, as you say, that goes with your theme perfectly, to see beyond, to see beyond.
Right.
That's the continuous goal.
Live free.
Fun. It's fun.
And everything is a gift. So you may not recognize it as a gift. I'm thinking about Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know who Joe is or not, but
Yes.
Joe is teaches all over the world about these beautiful, amazing healing sessions. Has like audiences of like 1,000 people that go to a workshop. Now, Joe was in a horrible accident riding a marathon, I don't know, 15 years ago, and a car clipped his bike and he flew off and broke his back like in 7 places. They said he'd never walk again. He'd have steel rods, da, da, da. But to your point about being a creator, he was focused in his mind. He bypassed his conscious mind and tapped into the creation part of his mind, and he was up and running, and his back had healed perfectly within 6 or 7 months. And today he takes that same technology that was gifted to him and teaches people how to heal all over the world. Now, he would never have gotten that gift unless he broke his back, unless the doctor said he would never walk again. They put steel rods in. So anything that you're facing, and I want you to look at Mark as a motivator. I mean, this is like the face of it's a beautiful face, by the way, but it's but it's a face of someone who can triumph over any challenge that comes in your way. And if you're looking for a great coach, as we kind of look towards wrapping up the hour, Mark, you offer mentoring and coaching. Why don't you tell the listeners a little about your coaching program?
Well, yeah, the coaching program, it's basically, it's for individuals who are ready to take the next step. So it's not, I just don't coach anybody. I mean, I have to vet you to see if you're right. If you contact me, I mean, you have to have some kind of knowledge. But basically what I do, I strip you down from the old way and rebuild it. That's it. All the stuff that you were taught, we're going to descramble it. We're going to rewire your neural networks, your mind, and we're going to tune you in to what I call your natural vibratory frequency. And that's where the magic happens. That's where you see synchronicities. You have the encounter with your higher self. You even have these abilities, and we don't have time to talk about all these stuff, such as remote viewing, remote influencing, the astral projection, the telepathy. All these things are these gifts, and they're here, man. But they operate in different frequency bandwidth. They're just like your Wi-Fi signal. You can't see it, but you turn your computer on, you get the internet. You can't see that signal. But so you do have other channels that tied to your true self, such as these gifts that you can remote view, live things that are going on at the same time. People don't understand and see these things because information has just been so much suppressed. It's not in the mainstream. It's not the agenda, in other words. And you just have to be ready. And once you get in it, you're going to be the minority, but your life will be so much fulfillment.
That's right. The quantum consciousness formula. If you can't read what's behind Mark's head there.
Yeah, quantum consciousness.
Yeah, and I want to actually add to that because you touched on a couple things, but you actually can tap into past lives. You can tap into future lives. You talked about the multiverse. You can tap into other selves. And actually, Mark and I, when we first met, we go, man, it feels like we've known each other. And we finally figured out that we lived together in Egypt as priests. So you were able to really see through the veil and connect and go like, wow, we've been friends for like 1,000 years. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the thing is, I want to share something with individuals that if you notice that you're really good at something, you're talented at that, that's because you've been doing it so long, so many eons ago, different past lives. That's why you have some people that are so good at being listeners, healers, or good at sports, events. So why are they so good at it? They say, oh, you're so talented. Oh, you just naturally pick it up. No, because you've been doing it many, many past lives ago. And, matter of fact, you know this, incarnation or reincarnation was taught in the Bible, but who took it out? You know they took it out.
Yep, exactly. The Emperor, Constantine.
Yep, took it right out. Says, oh, no, we can't have this here because this doesn't go against what we want to portray as the religious practices. A lot of individuals didn't even know that. Did you know that? Did you know reincarnation was actually taught? It was part of the Bible.
Well, I knew that. We shared. We talked about this. But to your point is, this is part of the programming to create the limitation. Is when something comes easy to us. It's our natural gift. Right. We have been programmed in such a way to go, God, that's too easy. I've got to do something hard to try to struggle for success versus actually tapping into our natural gifts, whether that's being a healer, an artist, whatever it might be. But society, the way they've influenced us or programmed and trained us is to go, we've got to struggle for success. And let me tell you, I think Mark struggles for success when he hits the scratch off and goes, I think 7447. Woohoo! That's a struggle because he's tapped in. So if you want to tap in, Mark, how's the best way for people to find you? Facebook, YouTube?
Yeah, Facebook, YouTube. All the links are on my description of my channels. You can find me at websites, Mind Center World, Haughton Vibrational Numbers. Just visit my YouTube, Facebook, and you will have all the information.
Okay, so what are those channel names? So is it Mark A.
Mark A. Haughton, and then you have Deliberate Creators. There's another channel there.
Deliberate Creators.
The Deliberate Creators, and Facebook, Mark Haughton. Instagram, Mark Haughton. You'll find me.
Okay, so they can PM you, and then you'll get back with them and then set up an interview to see where they are and whether they're ready to actually shed the baggage from this reality and evolve into something better, correct?
Exactly. But guys, I will get back to you, but I'll extremely tons and tons of emails. So as soon as I get there, so be patient. But yes, I'll definitely get back and answer.
Awesome. All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for this amazing interview. I think we've helped enlighten, or at least kind of shine a light for a few souls out there. And if you have any questions, feel free to ping me. I'm Joe Heller. You can find me at joeheller.com or joeheller / joeheller on Facebook and YouTube, where I just launched a new YouTube channel going into some pretty crazy teaching. So if you really, really want to go far out, you'll just step
Yes.
into the matrix
I
with me.
recommend you guys check Joe. Joe has a very unique way of presenting information, but it is highly, highly advanced and it makes total sense. He has a lot of knowledge about information about how things are kept. Definitely need to check him out.
Thanks, brother. Well, with that, we'll bid you adieu and lots of love to everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. Goodbye.